Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Kellen here again with Droid Life. So Pixel 4, Pixel 4 XL, very, very official now. This is a regular guy, Pixel 4 in oh so orange right here. You've probably pre-ordered, possibly getting your phone any day now. And because that's happening, we want to make sure you are ready. So here's something we do with every big flagship phone that arrives. These are the first 10 things we think you should do with the Pixel 4. So the first thing we're going to talk about is actually face unlock. There's no fingerprint reader on this, and we're big on, that sort of upfront security, that convenient security. And so again, no fingerprint reader, not on the back. The side, the back, there's not one in the display. All you have for security is, a secure lock like that and face unlock. So lots of face stuff going on up here. Cameras, flood sensors, Project Soli, radar. There's a whole bunch of things up here that will scan your face, hopefully in a fairly secure manner. And that's all you got. So no fingerprint reader. So we got to figure out how we set this up, and you should set it up because it's just the only way you can really secure things in a convenient way. So upon setup, you will roll into security, and you should probably get prompted to do this during setup and do that. If you haven't, this is where we get in there. So face unlock here, you'll set up a pattern, pin, password, whatever. You have to set up some sort of security up front before the face unlock. You gotta have a pattern, and then we get into face unlock. So I actually already have it set up, but let's do it again for video's sake. So you will tap setup face unlock, and then at this point it says glasses or tinted glasses are okay. It's going to biometrically scan your face. Make sure you look at it. And you're going to have to twist your face around a little bit as we do this. So let's do it. So to tell you to lift it up towards your face, and then it sort of asks you to round about. And so you're going to kind of twist your head about as you do this. And as you're doing it, it'll prompt you and give you little vibrations to move your face up, down, whatever, which way, and that'll get you in there. And then once it gets you, you get, smiley face with a green check mark that says you are good to go. Now, once you have that set up, there's a couple other things in here. You can have it unlock your phone, also sign in to secure elements or make payments or things like that. So instead of biometrically signing into a Google Play purchase, for example, you could use your face. Then you can also have it skip your lock screen. Now, this is one of those things you're gonna have to decide what you want. And what that's saying is when you hit your lock screen and it scans your face, it'll skip right past the lock screen and into whatever the last screen was that you locked your phone at. So you may want to leave that there in case you still want to have it unlock, but then stay on the lock screen. Then you swipe up on the lock screen to get into whatever you're doing. Up to you. You can delete your face data at any time in case you don't find this to be all that secure. So how does it work? Well, every time you are in this position and tap your screen, and then you tilt it up and it reads your face and unlocks. See how fast that is? So we'll show you that again. So tap your screen, look at it, and I'm kind of behind a microphone and some other setup here, and it's still managing to read my face. So it's worked pretty well for me in the times I've tested it. One of the things I will point out is it's actually pretty good in dark situations. I'm talking laying in my bed in a mostly dark situation, and actually managed to read my face somehow. I don't know how it did it, but it did. So anyway, that's face unlock. Be sure to use it. Now they're all secure with face unlock. Let's talk about Google Assistant. So this phone launches with the brand new Google Assistant, the newest version, which is the ultra fast version of Google Assistant, where basically you can just rattle off request after request and it'll just hammer through them faster than your current phone can. And it does that in part by a setting we're going to turn on called continued conversation. So if you have a Google Home, you probably know what that is, where basically you throw a command to your Google Home, and after it's done, it kind of listens for another few seconds to see if, you have another command to throw at it. So you can do that with your phone, at least your Pixel 4. So to launch Assistant on this phone, there's a couple ways with gestures enabled, which I have, and we'll talk more about gestures in a second. But you swipe up from the corner, you see that fires up a Google Assistant UI you may not be familiar with. Of course, you can also squeeze the side of your phone. This does have the squeezy sides of old. So to turn on continue conversation, I would suggest just doing this. Open Assistant settings. And that should open that up. You can see how quickly that did that. And you can do apps. You can do requests, like have it text somebody. It's all contextual based. You can fire off multiple things and it'll kind of know what you're talking about without actually specifying who and what you're talking about, if that makes sense. Anyway, in here though, you can see there's your command stuff. There's your squeeze for assistant. And then this little guy right here, continued conversation. Make sure you turn that on, because if you do, you can do things like this. What's the weather today? How old am I? How old's LeBron James? Who's his wife? What team does he play for? Tell me a joke. Tell me a joke. Okay, don't, please. But you get it there. There's a little hiccup, but it's super fast. It continues listening. I never had to say the hot word over and over again. It just was there listening to me. So very cool. So set that up. Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind. And we've got navigation gestures enabled down here. So if you go in and go into System and Gestures, and we look over here at System Navigation, I have the full gestures. If you switch to the 3 button, the new assistant does not seem to work. I think Google's tried to clarify that it should still work with the 3 button. So I have 3 button layout, but if I just long press on this, you can see it's not the new assistant. So I don't know if the UI has just changed. I tried to get it to work. It didn't seem to. Maybe that'll change here shortly. But if you want to use the new one, so far it's kind of seems like you have to use gestures. Again, Google has said you don't. I'm just not sure I fully believe that. The other thing to keep in mind is at this time, I still don't believe you can have a G Suite account on your phone. At least I'm not able to. And what I mean by that is if you have a G Suite account, which is like a work account that uses Google and Gmail, if you know, you know. With that on there, the new assistant may not work, and Google is probably working on a fix right now. But that's a new Google Assistant. You should get the most out of it. Turn continue conversation on rapid fire. Up next, then we have Motion Sense, which is the radar solely sensor that is embedded up here, where you can like wave around at your device and do some cool tricks now. I think it'll get better over time, but it's called Motion Sense. So in order to set that up, we go into Settings and we go down to System and then Motion Sense. So in here, a couple things. Well, you toggle it on right there. Now, this isn't something you have to train like Face Unlock. You basically just turn it on and it sort of works. There may be some training for you figuring out how it works. But so far, you can do a couple of things. Skip songs and silence interruptions. So skipping songs is exactly as it sounds when you're listening to music, and the little tutorial there shows you just wave across, you wave back and forth to skip songs. Out of the box, you can you might want to switch the directions. Out of the box, it actually starts swipe right to left for next song, and I think it's backwards. Maybe my brain's weird, but you may want to switch that. I have it swipe this way to change songs, and this way to go backwards. I think out of the box it's the opposite. Either way, you figure out which way works the best for you. The other thing here is silence interruption. So when alarms come in or calls come in, you can like wave your hand above it and it'll silence those and not make them so loud. The other thing then is down here, and it's the ambient display, and it says show display when nearby and reach to check for phone. So it actually says show time, notification icons, and other info when you are nearby. And then it also reach to check for phone means it'll kind of wake up, and that's a part of the face unlock where it wakes up as your hand approaches. So then as you grab your phone and lift it up, it'll then unlock. So as you can see from the little animation up there, this solely sensor kind of does this wide range of area where you can kind of be in and it'll sense you. So to show you this, well, let's just put the phone down. So it's sitting like that, and as I approach it with my hand, you can see it just woke up, and then I can, flip it up like this, and it should unlock looking at my face. Of course, I'm behind a microphone, so it's not going to do that at the moment. But that's kind of the idea here. So it senses my hand come in, and you can see it wakes up, and then it, shows me information. So it kind of gets it ready. So that's one of the things you may want to have on. The other thing then would be, music. So let's fire up music, and I have to mute this because, well, we want this video to survive. So if I have music on, and let's just play a Fabulous Band. So that song is playing. You can see it is playing up there. Now, if I go down here, do you see that little glow up there? That basically is a solely or motion sense glow that's kind of recognizing you may be in the area and you may be about to do some gestures. So you can see it's playing that song, and if I swipe this way, it just changed. So I'm swiping that way, it changes, swiping that way, and it's changing songs. And if I want to go back, I can swipe this way, and since I probably have to do it twice, there we go, it went back finally. So the back one, changing back tracks has always been a little weird, but going this way changes songs going forward for me. So that's kind of it. That should work with most music applications. It'll do this if your phone is like locked too. So you can see it's playing that song, I swipe, and it swipes over. So you can do that in any sort of state. And again, that glow is sort of there to let you know what's happening. That's kind of motion sense. For now, that's really all that it does. And we hope that Google adds a whole bunch of other stuff down the road. All right, next up, we're going to talk a little bit about quick settings. We talk about this in just about every video we do, but quick settings, I'm talking about this area up here. So when you swipe down your notification area, you get these quick settings. And it's important to set up by, if anything, the first 6, because the first 6 will show up when you swipe down once. And then of course they're there when you swipe down twice, but they're the things that you change the most. So in order to change those, well, you swipe this down, you look for this little sort of pencil edit button over here. So you tap that, you get into this UI, and then you can press and hold on one and drag it, wherever you want it. So set them up so that you get, again, the first 6 in the proper order. And then, you can add more. You'll find some extras down here, like live caption. You may want to throw a shortcut to that. There's also, where is it? The dark theme may be down there. You may need to add that. Dark theme is very important. It lets you, well, I have to get out of this, but it lets you do this, flip to light and dark really quickly. So again, set up the first 6, which are those, and those are your quick ones. So like I have Wi-Fi, auto rotate, do not disturb, night light, dark theme, battery saver, and then flashlight's pretty handy too. Those are just the ones I use all the time. So get those ready. And now let's talk about display. So this phone, or these phones, Pixel 4, 4XL from Google, have, this has a full HD display. The 4XL has a quad HD, but they both have 90 hertz display. So 90 hertz is the refresh rate. Basically just means that as you're scrolling and moving around in your phone, things just look quite smooth compared to your normal phone, which you might be coming from, which has a 60 hertz display. There are phones with 120 hertz, and those are wild and crazy smooth. These are 90 hertz, which is pretty great. So we'll go into display settings to talk more about this stuff, and we'll expand that advanced down. So you'll see down here, there's this thing called smooth display, and this is where you would turn that on. So it says automatically raises the refresh rate from 60 to 90 hertz for some content. It does increase battery usage though. So you kind of need to play with this and decide if you think this is important or not. And if it's impacting your battery in a really, really poor way, that you may want to just turn it off. If you don't care about 90 hertz, you may want to turn it off and extend battery life. So as you're interacting with it, it should flip to 90 hertz. And then there's also certain content that Google kind of flags to show in 90 hertz as well. So that's one of the big selling points of the phone. You decide by playing with it if it's going to be good on your battery or not. It comes on out of the box. Just be aware of that. Some other things to keep in mind though, night light. This is... well, if I go up here and just turn it on, this is the version, or the feature that turns your phone sort of to an amber color to ease eye strain. It's kind of a blue light filter. You can actually schedule that to run automatically. Be sure to do that. It's worth it. Trust me, especially at night. Adaptive brightness. Probably going to want to leave this on. What it tries to do is automatically adjust brightness depending on the situation, but also based on how often or where you are, or what time of day you're adjusting brightness. So it kind of tries to learn from your behavior. So you might want to leave that thing on. Here is a dark theme toggle, but again, there's one up here. I can just toggle dark theme at any time, but dark theme, it's a good thing to have enabled to maybe save on some battery, and then also at night. It's just a handy thing. And so keep that shortcut handy, but this is where you'll find it. There is a screen attention option where if you're looking at your screen, it'll try not to turn off. I'll let you decide if you want that or not. Moving along, colors. So out of the box, you will get an adaptive color profile where kind of tries to learn or change depending on maybe what you're looking at. Or if you just want super boosted wild colors, that's what boosted is. And natural kind of tones things down a little bit to a more natural state. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it in adapted. One of the things by switching between these, I really couldn't see much of a difference anytime that I've done it. I mean, natural does look a little bit more muted, but it's very hard to tell from that picture. Ambient EQ is a new feature as well in display settings. So it dynamically adjusts the display based on the surrounding light level. So depending on what your light's like, it could get a warmer tone or a cooler tone. It could adjust depending on what's going on. If you think that maybe it gets too warm all of the time, depending on your lighting, you may just want to turn that off. But it's kind of trying to learn using sensors to show you a display setting that it thinks will look the best. So that's mostly it within here in terms of display stuff. There's a lot going on with this display for the first time on a Google phone. So go through and sort of adjust most of this stuff. Trust me, it'll be worth it down the road. Before we exit here though, there is another thing we want to dive into, and it's right here called styles and wallpapers. So you can get to it actually this way, or if you're on your home screen, you can long press and styles and wallpapers there. Two ways to get to it. So this is where you change your wallpaper. So you can change your wallpaper in here, but it's over here in this style section where we get something new with Google Phones. So you can kind of tweak the way your phone looks a little bit more than you could in the past. So in here you have a bunch of different presets where you can change icon shapes. You can change some of the icon stylings that you might see up here. You can change accent colors. There's a bunch of stuff you can change, and there's sort of some preset ones. You can see I'm just kind of flipping through these here, and you can swipe over and it'll show you more of maybe what that font or that icon set is, and that accent color, shapes, and then of course what it looks like on your wallpaper, or it might try to change your wallpaper. Now, if you want to change some of these and like keep your current wallpaper, there's a box for that. There's also some custom things you can set up here. So if I go custom, I get to choose sort of maybe my style. So I could say like, how about this font? And then I'll go next. And then, well, which icon style do I like? How about that one? Then we'll go next, and then what accent color do I want? Well, how about just black or maybe purple? Let's go with that. Next, icon shape. Let's go with these weird little guys, and that's it. And then you name it whatever you want and apply, and then it applies all of that. So you can see my icons have now changed. I now have a purple accent, and that's my new style. So one of those new things with the Pixel 4, it's probably coming to older Pixel phones as well, but exclusive now for here, and that's how you adjust it. All right, so the next feature we'll talk about is called Live Caption. Now, Live Caption, well, it's exactly as the name describes. When you're watching a video, listening to a video, if a video is playing, it'll show you a live, on-demand, in real-time caption of whatever that video source is. So this comes in handy when you are, I don't know, I have a kid. I put my kid to bed a lot. Maybe I'm watching a video really quietly or something while he's trying to go to sleep or taking a nap. Or, I wake up in the morning and there's a video that comes on my phone and my significant other's sleeping, whatever. Like there's lots of times where you might want to watch a video and maybe read what's happening in the video without listening to it. So Live Caption does that. So if we jump into settings and we go into sound, down here, you'll find a thing called Live Caption. So you tap on that and you can enable it right here, Live Caption. You can have it hide profanity, show sound labels, and you should definitely check this one, which is have it available in volume controls. So Live Caption works like this. If I adjust volume controls, that's the shortcut it's talking about. So you can turn it off and on at any time by that if you have that option enabled. There's actually also a shortcut you can add up here, Live Caption, so you can toggle it off and on there. But so it's been really handy for YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. So if you're scrolling through Twitter and a video is playing in your timeline and there's not even any sound coming out of it, it'll still try to pick that up and show you kind of what's going on. It's very, very cool. But to show you how it works, let's just go into YouTube. So YouTube, Droid Live channel. And if we just start playing like this video, I have Live Caption enabled. It should just fire up pretty quickly a live caption. You can see it right there. So if I, minimize this, so we've got this little video here, but I can actually see in real time Tim being transcribed right there. So I can move this around or whatever, but it's transcribing exactly what he's saying right now. If I want to get rid of this, I just swipe down and it goes away into this area. But it's very cool. And again, you can just turn it off by doing that, but it's one of those things I feel like should be enabled a lot of the time, or at least if you stumble upon a video you may want to watch. So Live Caption, one of the new cool features of the Pixel 4. It's coming to other Pixel phones soon, but you get it out of the box. Now, the next thing to look at here would be, well, other gestures. So if we go into settings and you go all the way down to system and gestures, Google puts a lot of things in here now that it considers to be a gesture. So Active Edge, the squeezy thing that launches into Google Assistant, that is there. So Active Edge is there. So decide if you want that. You can tap on that and adjust the sensitivity and all that stuff. But I love Active Edge because you don't have to shout at your phone. And sometimes you don't really want to do the swipey up thing. So squeeze your phone and fires that up. Jump to camera, you definitely want on. That's a double tap on your camera or on your power button, and that gets you into the camera. Definitely leave that one on. Flip camera. So if you're in your camera and you do a little twisty thing, it'll actually flip it over to the selfie camera. Twist it and it'll actually flip back. That's what that is. Kind of a handy little feature. Here's your system navigation. I'll let you decide if you want to use the gestures in Android 10, which we've done a whole video about. I'll put it up here. and down below. But gestures, I'll let you decide if you want the 3 button or these full navigation. Tap to check phone, I believe, is new with the Pixel 4, and that's basically you just tap once on your screen to wake it up. So you can see I'm here, I just tap once, wakes it right up. So kind of a cool little feature there. I wish it would come to other Pixels. It has to do, I think, with face unlock for one, but it's very nice. Lift to check phone, I have that off, but lift to check phone just means you grab your phone, you lift it, it wakes up. I have tap to and also motion sense, so I do not have that on. That's sort of it. And finally, then let's just talk a little bit about the camera to get you really going here. I know a number of you know how to take pictures, but let's just double click here and open the camera. So the camera is a little bit different with this phone. One of the cool things they've done is if you tap on something to focus, you now have highlight or brightness and shadow exposure control. So you can kind of control your highlights and brights and then also your shadows. So really handy. And in order to get that, you really just tap on something and it'll move around as you tap around. Sometimes these will adjust. I mean, my lighting isn't really changing here, so it doesn't need to, but that's kind of how that works. It's actually a handy little feature. There's also a lock to lock them in place. So as you tap around, it doesn't automatically adjust those. Down at the bottom, well, you can see I can swipe left to right here and it'll change into different modes. You can also just kind of scroll on this to change mode. So all the way over the left is your night sight. So night sight is your really crazy at nighttime in the dark mode where you can take pictures basically in the dark. It's also an astrophotography mode that's built within this. You can't just flip on astrophotography, but you flip to night sight, point at the stars, maybe even on a tripod, and it will take pictures of the stars. Very cool. There's a portrait mode. So you guys know how portrait mode works. Gives you a little bokeh, a little blur in the background of objects. It's very good. They've improved it on this device. There's your normal camera mode, your video mode, and the more setting where you'll get to other stuff like your slow motion, all of that stuff, right? The camera hasn't changed a ton, but they did add, like I said, those new adjustments, and the night sight has some new features. If we tap the this little arrow though, this is where you get into some of your settings. So you can set timers and turn your flash on or off, adjust the ratio that your the image takes. If we dive into here into settings, I'll just point out a couple of things. Framing hints though, I would enable this. What it's going to tell you is how to maybe frame a picture a little bit better. And what it'll do is as you're looking to take a picture of something, and if you're not quite level, it'll actually tell you the degree off you are, and it'll kind of vibrate until you get right into that 0 mark where you are level. It's actually very cool. It comes in handy. Let's see. So social share, this is a new thing with the Google Camera app. What it allows you to do is take a picture and then it gives you sort of a quick pop-up and to let you share it with social channels. So if you go in here, you can select which ones you want to have at the ready. And what I mean by that is, so if I just take a picture here, see right there how that just popped up a little arrow. If I tap on that, I now have little shortcuts to share to my favorite socials. Kind of a neat little feature. A couple other things though in settings, there is your grid. Frequent faces is a new feature, and it basically says when you take motion photos or touch and hold or top shot, frequent faces recommends shots that prioritize the people you photograph the most. So if you take pictures of the same people all the time, turn it on. Why not? There's your camera resolution, your 4K video, and your video stabilization. In advanced, there's just a couple other things like your dirty lens warning if you want to shoot in RAW. That's pretty much it. I think that should get you going with your Pixel 4. Those are the first 10 things. I know this is a long video. We talked about a lot of stuff there. We'll have more tips and tricks shortly, a review too. But yeah, that should get you going. Those are the big features you need to know about to start getting the most out of this fancy brand new Pixel 4. Got any comments, questions? Let us know. We are Droid Life. Peace.